Right, so the belt tensioner pulley, the bearing on my car seems to be making a bit of noise. So I haven't had much luck with replacing the bearing in the past, so I'm just going to replace the pulley and bearing assembly. So we're looking at the Suzuki SX4 manual. My car is a 2009 2-liter. That's the model I've actually got pulled up here, is the 2-liter detail. So Donald, can you give us a hand with us here? And here we go. Thanks, Donald. So this is the component we're talking about here. This is the manual only shows you removal and installation for the entire assembly. We're actually only talking about the pulley itself here and the bearing. So there's just the one through bolt. Here's the actual part. So again, this is for the 2-liter air-conditioned model. I don't think it makes any difference, but this is the 2-liter. It is a Deco component, and that's the part number there. So I'll take you outside in the garage and we'll get underneath the car. So I think this is about all we really need for the job. Ideally, if you have a light, obviously to help yourself. I prefer a little headlight, but a light of some sort. Safety glasses are obviously ideal so you don't get any grit. Believe me, when you remove the plastic, you will get some grit in your face. 14mm wrench, some Loctite for the bolt, ideally. Number 2 Phillips. This is a mandatory, but if you have a little fork like this, ideal for taking the plastic rivets off, and of course the replacement part itself. So as you can see, I've got the car up on jack stands here in my garage. Yes, the rear wheels are chocked. So I've just removed the plastic up front here. So on the passenger side, right hand side of the vehicle, it's just a matter of getting underneath the air dam, removing the plastic that goes up and inside the wheel well. A couple of number 2 Phillips on the front, a couple of small bolts underneath, which also have number 2, number 3 Phillips heads, and a couple of plastic rivets that actually hold the side of the plastic on. So here we are actually underneath the car. Of course, we're at the front side of the engine. Crankshaft pulley, alternator pulley, not to be confused with the idler pulley, which is up here. The one we were interested in is the one pretty much sitting right in the middle there. That's the idler pulley. That's the one where the bearing is starting to go on it. And so again, number 14mm wrench, put it on, rotate it in the clockwise direction. That'll loosen the belt off. Got to do this one-handed here while I'm holding the camera, so let me see if we can slip the belt off. So there you go. Just that's all you need to do is slack the belt. Ideally, keep it situated, the serpentine belt. Ideally, keep it situated in place so you don't lose the belt routing. Although I'll show you a diagram at the end of this in the event the belt does come off and you get confused about the routing. Sometimes it can be a wee bit confusing. This particular car is not too bad, but yeah, so that's the belt slacked at this point. Okay, so your same 14mm wrench, reposition it now. Now you want to actually turn it counterclockwise, and that'll slack the bolt. There's the bolt loose, and it's just a matter of turning that out now, right? At which point in time you can use a ratchet ideally, or a ratchet in the box end, whatever you've got handy would be nice. So the bolt is actually loose there. Just a matter of spinning it out the rest of the way, and just be careful you don't lose any parts here once you've got the bolt extracted completely, because there is a large washer. This rust washer, I guess, that retains the actual pulley as well as the bolt. So here's the bolt. Oh man, dragging this out a little bit. Okay, so there's the bolt and the washer, and the pulley should just come off of the tensioner assembly there itself. So there's the pulley itself. It's a smooth. It's not a grooved pulley. Just a smooth. That's from the tensioner. Okay, so up to the bench. So here's the tensioner pulley removed, and again there's the part number for the replacement. Hopefully the quality is reasonable. Oh, it's actually made in America. Amazing. Look at that. Awesome. Okay, so there's the replacement. Looks a wee bit different. The profile of the pressed pulley itself is a wee bit different, but the diameter is the same. And it looks like the offset of the bearing itself is the same depth-wise. So, and the inside diameter is the same. So I think we're all good there. I'll just put a wee bit of Loctite. Blue Loctite on the threads of the bolt here. Sorry, trying to do this one-handed is a wee bit tricky. There we go, that'll do. And back underneath. One thing I noticed here is the size of the bolt and the diameter, or the bearing there, of course, might leave you wondering. But on the tensioner itself, there's actually an internal bushing, or integrated into the casting itself is actually a bushing that takes up that space. You'll see in a second. So there's the tensioner itself, of course. The casting, as I said, kind of an integral cast into the casting itself. The spacer that takes up the room in the bearing. So just slip the bearing on. So the pulley's on place on the tensioner. You'll notice when you do set it, actually there's about maybe 3/16 of an inch between the actual face of the bearing, the inside race of the bearing, and the actual casting. That's normal. I cross-checked it with the original. That is normal. Put the bolt back in position. Again, sorry, trying to do this one-handed while I hold the camera. A bit tricky. Okay, bolts in situ, just a matter of winding that in. So the bolts run in all the way, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get my torque wrench and socket in there, to be honest, because of the close proximity to the inner fender here. So just position your wrench like this. This will become apparent why in a second, because you need to get the tensioner swung all the way clockwise to its limit to actually be able to torque the bolt, right? So 30.5 pounds the manual says, so I'm going to do my best to approximate that, and that's tight. Don't over tighten it. You don't want to bust that casting and cause yourself even more grief. Okay, so that's it. The bolt's in, tensioner is in situ, looks good. Just a matter of rerouting the belt here. And again, I'll see if I can do this one-handed, but it's going to be a wee bit tricky while I hold the camera. So around the around the alternator there, and tensioner, and I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed. I'll show you in a second. So once the belt is actually routed all the way around all the various pulleys, you take the tension off the tensioner, let your wrench come back, make sure the belt is around the crankshaft and every other pulley for that matter, and then so that should be pretty much it. Double check. Make damn sure the belt is sitting on all the pulleys properly. Not to labor the point, but the crankshaft, the alternator, power steering pump up there to the upper left, that's the tensioner itself, of course, the idler. That you're looking at the lower side of the that's the water pump there, and actually that's the air conditioning compressor. So again, I'll show you the belt routing right at the end of the video. So let's start it up, see how it sounds. No point in putting the plastic back until we're sure everything's copacetic here. So actually, when I'm talking about checking the belt, while I was double checking my own belt here, this is the lower side of the air conditioning compressor. You'll notice that I'm actually one rib off on my pulley here. So
is easy to overlook that, and to be honest, I very nearly overlooked that myself there. So double check all your belt route and make sure it's correct. So there we go, sorted. Just a matter of taking the tension off the belt, and it just moved over just that wee touch, but you do not want that happening. That's going to cause you grief in pretty short order. Make sure the belt is properly routed on all the ribs of all the various pulleys. So let me get my garage door open here so I don't kill myself with carbon monoxide poisoning. What's that? 4 degrees, 3-4 degrees in the garage. A little bit nippy, but not too bad. Right. We'll start it up, see what it sounds like. What's the car got now? It's got 254 and change. It's getting up there. No wonder things are starting to make noise. Sounds better. Oh, I should mention, I actually changed the serpentine belt as well. While I was in there, I figured everything's apart. I might as well change the belt. Even though the one that was in there was relatively new, it looked a wee bit suspect in points, so I changed it. Anyway. There we go. That sounds better. Mrs. will be happy. Nice. Sounds alright. A lot quieter than what it was. Jesus. Okay, that's it. I guess we'll call it that. I'll just put the plastic back on, of course, in the under tray. No point in showing that. That's simple, straightforward. Right. So since I had everything apart, I thought, well, it kind of makes sense to change the belt as well. There's the part number. Again, that's for the 2-liter air-conditioned model. And amazingly, it is American made as well. Very nice indeed. 56 bucks, $52 Canadian. Probably get it cheaper online, I think. And as I mentioned earlier, the pulley and bearing assembly for the tensioner was about $35 Canadian. As I promised you, the belt routing diagram, this is from the Suzuki factory manual. So this is the 2-liter engine, the air conditioning model there. As you can see, here's the air conditioning compressor itself. So you start from the crank, the tensioner, that's the alternator, the power steering pump, that's the idler, and that's the water pump itself. So you can tell the routing there. In the event you don't have the air conditioned model, this is actually the non-AC model, pretty much the same, minus the compressor. That would be, of course, down in this area here. But keep in mind, this would be a different part number belt from the one I actually showed you, of course, because well, it would have to be a shorter belt minus the AC compressor there. Okay, so that's it. I'll leave it at that. Cheers.